This video will help us here with 11.3 from our Revealed Geometry book. We're going to find the area of a circle today, and then with the part 2 video, we will work on area of a sector of a circle. And so we're going to break this into 2 parts. First, whole circles and just circle base rules and definitions, and then we'll work specifically on sectors. And so there's lots of definitions you need to understand when it comes to circles. A circle is the set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from a given point, called a center. If you think of, like, you pin a piece of rope or a piece of twine to a board and extend it as far as you can, but it's pinned or nailed in, and you're going to hold it out as far as you can and then just keep going around the center, you're going to make a circle going around it there. Right? The radius is the distance here from the outer edge to the center. The diameter is the distance that goes the whole way through a circle, or across the circle through the center. Essentially, the diameter is 2 radii, the radius on each side. And then the circumference is the outer edge of the circle, or some people might call it the perimeter of a circle. And the circumference has a formula. It's noted here. Circumference is 2 pi r. Right? And so this is all prior information we need to know before we go along in the unit. And so if you do not know some of these things, please make a note of them on your note sheet, or draw yourself this little picture here. So you're going to need to know the difference between radius and diameter. And then you're going to need to know circumference means the outer whole edge. But a radius is the distance from the center to the middle, or from the center to the edge. Or think of it as half the diameter, where the diameter is twice as long as the radius. First formula for area we need is area of a circle. Area is pi r squared. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So if you're given a diameter, you have to convert it to the radius and use the radius in this formula. But this is the base formula for the area of a circle. We want to make sure we have it in our notes. And then we're just going to do a base example. Now, this looks like it's examples, and it says examples plural, but this is really the same problem drawn 2 different ways. On the left here, we have a radius of 5. And on the right, we have a diameter of 10. But in both cases, the radius is 5, because here, that's just what it is. And here, if the diameter is 10, then the radius is going to be 10 divided by 2, or 5. And so if I go to actually work this problem out, I'm going to do area equals pi r squared, which means the area equals pi times 5 squared. And so the area equals 25 pi. If I type that into Desmos, it's going to give me some big, fancy, long, or any calculator, I should say, decimal answer. And so we will need to round to something. And so most of the time we'll round to 100th or 10th. And so we'll say 10th here. And so we'll say it's about 78.5. And I'm going to just do a U for units squared. All right, jumping into example 1. Example 1 says Keon is building a circular patio in his backyard. And then this problem has 2 parts. First part is, what is the area of the patio? And they are telling us to round here to the nearest square foot. I see that this line in the picture here is 24 feet. And that goes from one edge of the circle all the way to the other edge, and I presume through the center, and so that is the diameter. So that means that the radius here is just going to be 12 feet. I use that information to help me do the math here. I want to do area equals pi r squared. Pi times the radius, which is 12 feet, or just 12 squared. Area equals, that becomes 144 pi. And again, if you type that into a calculator, if you type that into Desmos, right, we would get 452.38 and change, right, and that's Desmos. And so we're just going to say here the answer is that it's about, the area is about 452 square feet. And this is the nearest whole square foot. And then you put square feet. And so that was part A. Part B is going to change that from knowing how much square feet we need to how much is it going to cost. And so in part B, Keon can purchase paving stones for $135 per square yard. About how much will he need on paving stones for this patio? And a tricky thing, if you notice here, is we know already from the first slide, we know the area, or from the first part, the area is 452 square feet. And we want to know about how much we'll spend. So that's the question. The question is, how much will we spend? But our unit here we're dealing with is $135 per square yard. So the first thing I think it through is, what's the difference between those two things? Right? And so if I just think of a square, and there is 3 feet in 1 yard, so we're going to say it's 3 foot on one side and 3 feet on the other side, because now that is 1 square yard. If I was to do the area of that in feet, 3 times 3 is 9. So 9 feet squared is equal to 1 yard squared. So what we're going to do here for the price is we're going to take that 135 and divide it by 9, and so it's $15 per square foot. And now that we know the cost per square foot, we just take our area, 452, times it by 15, and we get that the total cost is $6,780. It's obviously a lot nicer and a little bit easier to understand if they kept the unit the same. Example 2A, find the diameter of a circle with an area of 196 square yards. So it says find the diameter. That's what I'm trying to do, find the diameter. And I know we're talking about a circle, and I know the area is currently this. So circle, area equals pi r squared. And we know that currently 196 pi is the area. That's what it says right here. And so we're just going to go and plug that in. Equals pi r squared. We divide by pi on both sides, because that's the first thing I need to do. And it's just like they cancel out. So I get 196 equals r squared. And then to get rid of the squared, we square root. And so the square root of 196, if you don't know, you could use a calculator, and it would be 14. And that's the radius. But this question did ask, what is the diameter? I have to remember that one diameter is equal to 2 radius. So diameter equals 2 times that 14, or the diameter is twice as big, or 28 yards. Last example, example 2b, says find the radius of a circle with an area of 95 square centimeters rounded to the nearest tenth. Again, what are we doing? We're finding the radius. What other key information give me? Tell me it's a circle, and the area is already that much, 95 square centimeters. So I know the area of a circle is pi r squared. I want to plug that 95 in. And the first thing we need to do is divide, not square root, is divide by pi. And so now you need to take a calculator, do 95 divided by pi. My calculator screen is telling me it is 30 point, I'm just going to round it off here, 239. That's rounding late enough where I think I can still get a pretty good answer when I do my square root. And so now we need to square root both sides to get the rid of the square to get r by itself. And so here we get the radius is, and when it's on around to the nearest tenth, and so we're going to say it's about 5.5 centimeters.